Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is September 4th, and we're going over our August Players of the Month, as well as taking a look at some of the craziness happening in the NL wildcard. Let's do it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. Happy Mondays, everybody. The start of another week here as we inch closer and closer to some teams clinching for playoff spots. Most likely the Braves will be number one. Maybe even by next week, they will be the first team clinching a berth into the postseason. Today we've got our Players of the Month, so we're going to dive on into that first before going over the usual series recap and other stuff, taking a look at the standings a little bit later on, seeing what kind of games won over the weekend, what kind of results changed in those standings, so we'll take a look at that afterwards. But for now, we'll dive on into our Player of the Months. And as usual, we'll start with my picks for the AL and NL, before taking a look at the MLB's picks as well for their team of the month as well as their players. We'll start with the AL, and it will be Mitch Garver from your Texas Rangers for the catcher's position. He's batting .302 for the month with 8 home runs, 16 RBIs, good for an OPS of 1.022. No Jonah Heim there. Him and Sam Huff been getting some time behind the dish, and he made the most out of it. Jonah Heim, I'm sure I think he's back already, but split in time just because he's dealt with the injuries, and Mitch Garver's been playing so well, so good for Garver. First baseman Ryan Mountcastle from the Oilers, .360 average, 5 home runs, 19 RBIs, an OPS of 984. The O's having another good month, and Mountcastle was a mainstay in that lineup, as well as guys like Anthony Santander, as well as the usuals like Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson. For second baseman, Gleyber Torres is my pick. .327 average, 7 home runs, 13 RBIs, an OPS of 1.008. As much as the Yankees have not been good this year, Gleyber had a good month, and amongst all second basemen in the AL, he definitely was the one that stood out to me. So good for Gleyber there, good for the Yankees to have something to their name. Third baseman Alex Bregman from your Astros, .318 average, 4 home runs, 21 RBIs, an OPS of 959. Good stuff from Bregman there. The Astros are competing with the Rangers and Mariners, so all hands on deck. They got Brantley back, so good for the Astros, good for Bregman there. Shortstop, we got our second Ranger on the list, Corey Seager, .337 average, 10 home runs, 22 RBIs, an OPS of 1.111. And if it wasn't for Ohtani, Corey Seager could have definitely be the front runner for the AL MVP. It's just unfortunate for him that he has to be with Ohtani. And as long as Ohtani's in the AL, I feel like that's going to be the case for the MVP going forward. But Corey Seager's had a great season, and he had a very good month of August, so good for Corey Seager there. Our outfields now. We got a couple of Mariners here, starting off with Julio Rodriguez. Definitely the best player in the AL, averaging .429 in the month, 7 home runs, 30 RBIs, an OPS of 1.198. The Mariners have jumped into the playoff picture, into the AL West standings, with a fantastic month of August, 21 wins, a franchise high. Joining him would be Teoscar Hernandez, who had a wonderful month. .365 average, 7 home runs, 22 RBIs, an OPS of 1.050. Teoscar, a slow start coming from Toronto, heading to Seattle. April and May were not great months, but really since June he's picked it up, and August has definitely been his best month as a Mariner, so good for them. They need those guys to get going as they try to compete this month with the Astros and the Rangers. Here's a Tiger. Kerry Carpenter had a very strong month of August. .347 average, 9 home runs, 20 RBIs, and an OPS of 1.058. The Tigers, as they try to be competitive, maybe even next year. They got names now that we're starting to know and starting to learn. And Kerry Carpenter's jumped on the scene this year in a big way and has helped the Tigers, I guess, somewhat stay relevant. Even though they're in the AL Central and the Tigers haven't been great, they've been better than the White Sox, better than the Royals, better than the A's. I'd go on to say that I think the Tigers had a better season than the Angels had. Maybe that's just because of like the expectations we had for both teams. But I mean, right now, from on this day, September 4th, I would say the Tigers have had a better season than the Angels, and Kerry Carpenter's played a big part in it. Guys like Spencer Torkelson, they're breaking out. So good for the Tigers, good for Kerry Carpenter there. Starting pitcher, here's a name that you probably never heard of. Cole Ragans from the Royals. He went 3-1 in the month of August, a 1.72 ERA and 53 strikeouts. You actually might have heard of him because this is who Texas sent over in the deal for Aroldis Chapman earlier in the year. And he's kind of just exploded into the scene for the Royals and had a fantastic month of August. So, I mean, good for that. It's a bad look for the Rangers but obviously, this Chapman's been pretty good for them as long as they don't use him in a safe situation. For the Rookie of the Year, this one, it came down to two guys here, Zach Gelof from the A's and then Davis Schneider from the Blue Jays. Schneider obviously has better numbers, but he did play in much less games than Gelof did. But I am going to go with Davis Schneider because of the phenomenal start he's had and, the crazy month he had in August. He's averaging 426, 6 home runs, 14 RBIs, and an OPS of 1.420. So definitely the highest OPS. Obviously the least amount of time played than any of the other guys on the list here. But I mean, the Blue Jays, they lost Bo, they lost Chapman, now they lost Jasson. Davis Schneider, he's been hitting, and they need him to keep doing that for the month of September. If the Blue Jays want to try to get a wild card spot, they need Schneider to continue to put up these numbers. So hopefully these numbers carry over into September for the rookie there. Great start to his career, so good for the Jays, and obviously good for Davis Schneider. And now for our special /DH, we'll go with Ohtani because, we'll give the Angels something. 316 average, 5 home runs, 14 RBIs, an OPS of 1.004. Definitely the worst month of Ohtani, I would say. Or I'm not really looking at his numbers from the previous months, but I remember his June was the best month by far, but his July and May and April were also pretty good. Only 5 home runs in the month. Still average 316, and that's the thing though. Even though Ohtani, we consider this a down month, this is still a very good month. For any other player, essentially, he has more home runs than Bregman did, a higher average, higher OPS, just not as many RBIs. But yeah, so that is for Ohtani. That is your AL Players of the Month. Moving along now to the NL side of things, starting off with catchers, it's the Nationals. Keibert Ruiz, 311 average, 5 home runs, 16 RBIs, and a 913 OPS. Obviously not a great season for the Nationals, but Ruiz had a good month, so congrats to him there. First baseman Freddie Freeman, 374 average, 4 home runs, 16 RBIs, an OPS of 1.051. Acuna, Betts, Freeman, Olsen, kind of the double outfielders, double first baseman stars in the Braves and Dodgers NL battle that we'll talk about a little bit later on. He's still one of the best first basemen in the league, and he had the best month of the NL. So good for Freeman there. Second baseman, how about the Braves? Ozzie Albies, 338 average, 4 home runs, 16 RBIs, and an OPS of 943. Ozzie, switch hitting second baseman, one of the best. So good for him, good for the Braves. The Braves had an all-star team all season long, and Ozzie has been a part of that as well. So good for him there. Third baseman, the Pirates, Ke'Bryan Hayes, their young guy there, 320 average, 6 home runs, 20 RBIs, and an OPS of 956. I feel like Ke'Bryan Hayes kind of gets forgotten when you think of the Pirates. When I think of them, I think of Brian Reynolds, O'Neal Cruz, their star shortstop, who's been hurt as well. But Ke'Bryan Hayes is another one of those young kids who, he got hurt a little bit early in his career, and he's had a really good season all in all this year, and was the strongest third baseman of the month. So there you go, good for Ke'Bryan there. For the shortstop, and I love to see this name here, Trey Turner, 324 average, 9 home runs. You don't think of Turner as a home run hitter. 26 RBIs and an OPS of 1.044. We'll talk about more in the series recap, but Turner has been on a home run hitting streak, and 9 home runs in the month of August for Trey Turner. I'm just glad to see him getting some recognition finally. He's had a poor month of his career, and he's starting to turn it around here in the late half of the year. So it's great to see for Turner. And if you're a Philly fan, you're really excited for your star shortstop for the next 10 years that he's finally getting going and feeling comfortable. And hopefully this will carry over into the following years as well. So good for Turner there. Our outfielders, the main one, Mookie Betts, 455 average, 11 home runs, 30 RBIs, 1.355 OPS. Mookie Betts probably the player of the month entirely, in my opinion. 11 home runs from that guy is crazy. This guy does it all, and he's going to be a big part in the Dodgers' playoff succession this year. If they go a long way, it'll be because Mookie's playing out of his mind. He is a star outfielder, and he plays like it. So incredible month for Mookie. Good for him there. But that's one Dodger. What about the other two outfielder spots? Well, how about two Braves? Marcell Ozuna from your Braves. 358 average, 9 home runs, 25 RBIs, and an OPS of 1.131. Marcell Ozuna from the Braves has done very well, kind of bouncing back after last year's troubles on and off the field. But he's well over 30 this year in terms of home runs, and he's playing out of his mind. When you have this guy batting, 7th in your lineup, 6th in your lineup, and he's hitting 30 bombs in the year. That's why the Braves are doing so well, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later on. And of course, the yin to Mookie's yang, it's Ronald Acuna Jr., 352 average, 6 home runs, 22 RBIs, and an OPS of 1.006. It comes down to Acuna versus Betts for the MVP honors this year on the NL side of things. And this month definitely goes to Mookie, but it's not about this month. It's about the entire season. And I think Acuna could still make a case being the first player to have a 30-60 season. But yeah, regardless, Acuna also having a great month of August. That's what, the third Brave that we've mentioned, Mookie being the second Dodger. It goes back and forth. Those two teams are teams to fight over, and I mean, we'll talk about it in their 4-game set a little bit later on, but I would love to see an NLCS matchup between the Braves and the Dodgers with all the stars that both these teams have. It definitely is great for baseball. The starting pitcher, Freddie Peralta from your Brew Crew, 5-0 in the month, a 2.10 ERA, and 46 strikeouts for the month. Freddie Peralta has been dominant, definitely making the case for why he should be the Brewers' ace even. I think he's definitely had a better season than Brandon Woodruff. And you can make the argument for Corbin Burns as well. A very strong month. The only pitcher to go 5-0 in the month, I think for a while actually. I don't remember the last time we had a 5-0 record-wise. So he's, when he goes out there, the Brewers win games, and that's what they need to do with teams like the Cubs and Reds on their trail there. For the rookie, I went with Nolan Jones from your Colorado Rockies, a 281 average, 4 home runs, 17 RBIs, and an 890 OPS. This is a guy who's really starting to develop now and could be something special a little bit down the line here. Nolan Jones been doing really well for the Rockies. It's kind of one of the names that you would know from that team. And I got called up midpoint in the year, and he's done really well since, so good for him. I definitely think his rookie numbers stood out above Outman's just slightly, though. But James Outman is another good candidate and could win Rookie of the Year, but we'll talk about that a little bit more down the road as well. And then lastly, the special /DH spot is going to be Bryce Harper as the DH, because the Phillies have been incredible, and Bryce Harper is part of that reason why. 361 average, 10 home runs, 24 RBIs, an OPS of 1.236. When you have Bryce Harper hitting 10 in a month, Trey Turner hitting 9, and then you've got your guys there like Nicholas Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber. I mean, the Phillies have been hitting some home runs recently, and they've been winning some games, which is what they need right now as they lead that NL wild card. But yeah, that's going to be your NL Players of the Month. Now let's take a look at MLB's Players of the Month. Starting with the AL, their Player of the Month, Julio Rodriguez. We mentioned him, 429 average, 1.198 OPS, 7 home runs, 30 RBIs, 11 stolen bases. A great month for Julio. For NL, it is Mookie Betts, 455 average, 51 hits, 11 home runs, 30 RBIs, the OPS at 1.355. Those are your Players of the Month according to MLB. Your pitchers, it's going to be the same guys that I said. Cole Reagans from your Royals, 3-1, 1.72 ERA, 53 strikeouts. And for the NL, Freddie Peralta, 5-0, 2.10 ERA, 46 strikeouts there. So there you go there. For the rookies, they did go with the opposites that I had mentioned. Instead of Schneider and Nolan Jones, they went Zach Gelof and James Outman. Zach Gelof for the A's, 286 average, 912 OPS, 7 home runs, 15 RBIs. And then James Outman for your Dodgers, 277 average, 890 OPS, 5 home runs, and 15 RBIs. You can make the case either or. Obviously, the Gelof one makes a little bit more sense just because of the playing time for Schneider. For Outman, though, I do think Nolan Jones had the better month. But Outman did have a great month regardless, so I can see them going that way as well. So MLB's makes sense there. And then the relievers that I don't like to touch. Reliever for the AL side was Andres Munoz from your Mariners. 14 innings pitched, 1.93 ERA, 20 strikeouts and 9 saves for your Mariners. And on the NL side of things, Raciel Iglesias, 13 innings pitched, 0 ERA. Did not allow a single run in those 13 innings for the month of August. 17 strikeouts and 7 saves to his name. Those are what MLB had for their players of the month. If we're looking at their team of the month, their catcher, Mitch Garver. At first base, Ryan Mountcastle. At second base, Jose Altuve, interestingly enough. Shortstop, Trey Turner. Third baseman, Ke'Bryan Hayes. Left fielder, Kerry Carpenter. Center fielder, Julio Rodriguez. Right fielder, Mookie Betts. Their DH, Bryce Harper over Shohei. Starting pitcher, Cole Reagans. And for your relief pitcher, Raciel Iglesias is MLB's team of the month. I think the Altuve one's the most interesting one. I think Glaber had the strongest month of all second basemen. But regardless, that is what MLB had, and that will do it for our players of the month in total. So let's now jump into the usual and start things off with our series recap. Let's start with the Tigers and the White Sox. A 2-run single from Riley Green helps the Tigers. They take the game, winning it 4-2. Miguel Cabrera, playing in his last month of his career, goes 4 for 5 with a double. And Andre Lipkias gets his first major league hit and home run. The Tigers go to town and win it 10-0. And in the last game, the difference in this one was a Spencer Torkelson moonshot. The Tigers sweep the White Sox as they win it 3-2. Pirates and Cardinals now tied at 1 in extras. The Pirates score 3 runs in the 10th, as that would lead them to the win in the opener, winning it 4-2. Second game, Tyler O'Neill, Lars Nootbaar, and Jordan Walker all homer for the Cardinals, where the Pirates keep things close and then get a go-ahead 2-run home run from Palacios in the 9th inning. That leads to another Buccos win as they beat the Cardinals 7-6. Another Jordan Walker home run in Game 3. That time, the Cardinals keep the Pirates down, and they'll win it to avoid the sweep as they take it 6-4. Angels and A's now, and the A's ride a 5-run 4th inning past the Halos as they win the first game 9-2. Brent Rooker, he hits a 2-run shot in the second game, and that's all the offense for the A's, but that's still enough to beat the Angels as they win it 2-1. And in that final game, Ryan Noda and Seth Brown homer for the Athletics. They follow up a 4-run 6th inning with a 6-run 7th inning. The Angels get swept by the Oakland Athletics. It's another low on the year for the Angels as they lose it 10-6. Red Sox and Royals now. Bobby Witt Jr. goes deep, as well as Salvador Perez, who hits 2 home runs in the game. The Royals blow out the Red Sox, taking it 13-2. Tristan Casas goes deep in the first, and the Red Sox had a 7-run lead halfway through this one. They would hold on and even up the series, beating the Royals 9-5. And then bombs from Yoshida and Duvall lift Boston to a series win as they take 2 of 3 from Kansas City, beating them 7-3. The Mariners and the Mets now. J.P. Crawford leadoff bomb got it started. Brandon Nimmo, he homers later to tie it up for the Mets. Ronnie Mauriciano making his debut, his first at-bat ripped the ball 117 miles an hour off the bat, a double for his first MLB hit. Mauricio Vogelbach later on, he gives the Mets the lead in the 8th with an RBI single. The Mets take the opener versus the Mariners, winning it 2-1. In the second game, the Mets had 3 home runs from DJ Stewart, Mark Vientos, and Francisco Lindor, but the Mariners did also. Teoscar Hernandez, Dominic Canzone, and J.P. Crawford go deep for the M's, and Crawford's home run came in the 9th to break the tie game. That would give the Mariners the win as they even the series 8-7. And then Pete Alonso, the Polar Bear, hits 2 home runs in the final game, his 40th and 41st home runs of the season. Jeff McNeil also goes deep. The Mets do a huge favor for the AL West teams to take advantage of by taking 2 of 3 from the Mariners, beating them 6-3. Blue Jays and Rockies now. Brandon Belt, Ernie Clement, and Danny Jansen homer for the Jays as they scored runs in 6 of 9 innings, including a 5-run 7th that led them to a win 13-9. After being down 5-0 to the Jays, the Rockies scored 8 unanswered runs to take the lead. The Blue Jays tried to answer back but come up a run short as the Rockies even up the series with the win 8-7. And in the final game, the rubber match, Vlad hits home run number 21 on the year, while Spencer Horwitz, who was added for the month of September, launches his first career home run. He went 3 for 4 in the game and had a day to remember. The Blue Jays win it and take 2 of 3 versus the Rockies 7-5. The Yankees and the Astros, and the Yankees debut 2 of their top prospects in Austin Wells and Jasson Dominguez, with 2 S's in Jasson, and his nickname is the Martian. And in his first at-bat of his career at age 20, took future Hall of Famer Justin Verlander at age 40 deep. His first hit, home run, RBI, and run of his big league career. Austin Wells, he recorded his first hit as well. Judge hits his career home run number 250, the fastest ever in MLB history. The Yankees take the first game in the Space City, beating the Astros 6-2. Michael Brantley officially is back as he hits his first home run of the season, but Judge goes deep again for his 31st on the year. The Yankees get another one, beating the Astros 5-4. The Astros looking not to get swept in order to not lose a game to Seattle. And with the sac fly, they would have the lead early, but in the 6th, the Yankees would tie it up, and then it was the kid once more, Jasson Dominguez again, his second of his career, the second of the series. A 2-run shot put the Yankees up. Gleyber Torres goes deep in the game as well. The Yankees sweep the Astros as they win it 6-1. Giants and Padres now, somewhat of an important 4-game set for the Padres if they want any chance at staying in the playoff race. For the Giants, they score 6 runs in the 3rd inning and ride that out for the first game as they beat the Padres 7-2. Game 2, Fernando Tatis Jr. and Juan Soto hit back-to-back home runs in the first, which led to them scoring 6 runs in the first 3 innings of the game. The Padres would win it and even up the series 7-3. For Game 3, Juan Soto, Xander Bogaerts, Gary Sanchez, and Garrett Cooper all homer for the Padres. They'll get one easily, beating the Giants 6-1. And then it's a 3rd straight game with a Juan Soto home run. Manny Machado goes deep as well. The Padres help out some teams fighting for the NL wildcard and give themselves some hope by taking 3 of 4 versus the Giants, winning it 4-0. The Marlins and the Nationals now, a couple of home runs from Jazz Chisholm and Jake Berger would help the Marlins get the first of 4 versus the Nationals as they take the opener 6-1. And in Game 2 to extras we will go, and in the 11th the Finns went to work. They score 4 runs, including a 2-run shot from Garrett Hampson as they get another one against the Nationals, beating them 8-5. In the 3rd game, Jake Berger hits 2 home runs for home runs number 29 and 30 on the year for him. Jesus Sanchez and Brian De La Cruz join him for a total of 4 Marlin home runs, leading them to a third win in the series, 11-5. Luis Arias hits home run number 6 to lead off the ball game there. Later on, tied at 4 in the 9th, we will go. The Marlins score 2 runs on a fielder's choice and a single from Brian De La Cruz as they get the must-have series. The Marlins get a 4-game sweep over the Nationals and reintroduce themselves into the NL wildcard chaos, beating them 6-4. With the Astros being swept by the Yankees and the Mariners losing 2 of 3, it's a huge opportunity for the Rangers to take back the AL West against the Twins, but they also have something to fight for as they're trying to stay away from the Guardians. Corey Seager hits home run number 26 to get things started, but like I said, the Twins are fighting off the Guardians and they need the wins also. Jordan Luplow, Christian Vasquez, and Jorge Polanco all go deep as the Twins take the opener versus the Rangers, winning it 5-1. Couple of home runs from Adolis Garcia and Sam Huff put Texas up 4. The Twins then scored 6 straight to take the lead. The Rangers would tie it in the 8th on a Robbie Grossman sac fly, which sent us to extras where the Twins scored 3 runs in the 10th and held the Rangers as they take the second game also, beating the Rangers 9-7. In the last game, Mitch Garver, a 3-run home run, starts it for Texas. Royce Lewis, a 3-run home run, ties it for the Twins. Later on, Mitch Garver, his second home run of the game, that gives Texas a 1-run lead. Next inning, Royce Lewis, an RBI single, ties it back up for the Twins. This sent us to the 9th inning, tied with Adolis Garcia up to bat, who was currently 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts on the day. How about a walk-off home run for number 34 on the year to forget about all of that? Adolis Garcia, he walks it off for the Rangers as they avoid the sweep to the Twins, winning it 6-5. The O's and the D-backs get things started here for 3 games, and it's 2 two-run home runs from Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and Christian Walker to get the D-backs the first win against the best team in the AL, winning it 4-2. The Orioles will bounce back though. They score 6 runs in the 4th inning, including a 3-run home run from Cedric Mullins. That will even up the series as they beat the Diamondbacks 7-3. And then for the rubber match, the Diamondbacks 3 home runs from Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Corbin Carroll, and Christian Walker. But the O's do the damage in the field as they score 2 runs in the first, 2 runs in the second, and 4 runs in the 6th, all without the long ball. The O's get the win and take 2 of 3 versus the Diamondbacks, beating them 8-5. Rays and Guardians now. Both the Oilers and the Twins won 2 games of 3, so one of these 2 teams would lose a game in a division race. The Rays scored 2 runs quick in this one, but the Guardians would hold them after that as they go on to score 3 runs and would end up being the Rays in the opener 3-2. Some back and forth in the second game as we'll jump to the 9th. The Rays up a run, but not for long as Stephen Kwan delivers a single to tie the game up and send it to extras, where in the 11th it was Stephen Kwan once again who walked it off with a sac fly. The Guardians get another versus the Rays as they win it 7-6. And now a chance for the Guardians to sweep the Rays and get a game back on the Twins. Tied at 2 late, the Rays got the lead in the 8th inning, and then in the 9th they would add 3 more runs to secure it. The Rays shut the door on the Guardians' hope for that and win it to avoid the sweep as they beat them 6-2. Here we go, the Braves and the Dodgers, a possible NLCS matchup. 2 of the best teams go head-to-head for 4 with stars all over the field. Mookie Betts, Ronald Acuna Jr. fighting for NL MVP, and don't count out the first baseman Matt Olson and Freddie Freeman. Let's get things started. Acuna gets married that day, and later during the game hit a grand slam to create his own 30-60 club. It's the first player ever to do so. 30 home runs, 60 stolen bases, so congrats to Acuna. Austin Riley and Michael Harris both joined Acuna in hitting home runs. The Dodgers made things close with home runs from Muncy, Bush, and Mookie Betts hit 2 home runs. What a game to start this 4-game set, but the Braves do hold it and win it 8-7. 3 Brave home runs from Ronald Acuna Jr. again, Marcell Ozuna, and Travis d'Arnaud. The Braves get another win versus the Dodgers, beating them 6-3. Acuna, 3rd straight game with a home run. Later on, the Dodgers tie it, and we head to extras tied at 1 when it's Orlando Arcia who hits a 3-run home run in the 10th to put the Braves up as they get their 3rd straight win over the Dodgers, beating them 4-2. Matt Olson hits home run number 44 on the year, but there was no way the Braves would get a 4-game sweep over the Dodgers, right? Mookie Betts, he singles. James Outman, he singles. That would make sure the Dodgers salvage the last game. They avoid the 4-game sweep as they beat the Braves 3-1. Phillies and Brewers here. What a series this was that turned out to be. Leadoff Kyle Schwarbaum got things started for the Phillies. Later on, Willy Adames, a 3-run home run, put the crew back up. In the 8th inning, Trey Turner, home run number 20 on the year, a 3-run shot to put the Phillies back in front. In the bottom of half with the bases loaded, Alec Bohm lets the ball go through his glove and down the line, which would score all 3 runners on the error. The Brewers get a gift and win the first one 7-5. Game 2, it's another leadoff Kyle Schwarbaum. GT Realmuto goes deep, and Trey Turner goes deep in his 5th straight game. But the Brewers score 7 unanswered runs, 3 in the 2nd and 4 in the 5th, including a 2-run shot from Carlos Santana. The Brewers get another win with the same score of 7-5. On to the 3rd game we go. William Contreras and Mark Canha both hit solo shots for the Brew Crew to start it off. Later on, Alec Bohm hits home run number 16 to tie the game up. And then the next batter, JT Realmuto, hits home run number 17 to give the Phillies the lead, as those back-to-back home runs help the Phillies avoid the sweep as they get the last game against the Brewers, winning it 4-2. Lastly, now we have a 4-game set between the Cubs and Reds in this battle of NL Central teams. It starts with a doubleheader on Friday where Cody Bellinger, Ian Happ, and Seiya Suzuki all homer for the Cubs. They take the opener of the set, winning it 6-2. Cody Bellinger, he does it again in the 2nd game with home run number 22 on the year. The Cubs up 1 in the 9th, where it's Nick Martini who hits his 3rd home run of the year to tie it up for the Reds. A few batters later, it's Noelvi Marte who walks it off for the Reds with a line drive single to center. The Reds even the series up in walk-off fashion, beating the Cubs 3-2. And what's better than 1 walk-off? How about 2? And it's very similar to the last game. The Reds down 1 in the 9th. They tie it with a single from Ellie De La Cruz, and then Hunter Renfroe, newly claimed from the Angels, grounds into a fielder's choice as they throw to second for 1 out, but Renfroe will beat the out at first as he walks it off for the Reds as they get the dub, beating the Cubs 2-1. And for that final game, Cody Bellinger and Yeimer Candelario both go deep for the Cubs, who scored 7 runs in the 8th inning to put the game well out of reach. The Cubs win it and split the 4-game set with the Reds 2 each, as the Reds win the meat while the Cubs get the bread. They win it 15-7. Alrighty, now let's talk about this game of the weekend, and we're heading to Texas, where it's the Twins and the Rangers. That last game, the Rangers looking to win one of the games in the series here. Bottom of the 1st, Mitch Garver, home run number 14, a 3-run shot put the Rangers up. Then later in the top of the 5th, Royce Lewis, home run number 10, a 3-run shot, ties it up for the Twins there. Later in the bottom of the 6th, it's a wild pitch which allows Texas to get a 1-run lead. Top of the 7th, Carlos Correa, he singles in a run to tie it back up for the Twins. Later on, bottom of the 7th, Mitch Garver, his 2nd home run of the game, home run number 15. He went 4 for 4 in this game. and now the Rangers are up 5-4. But then in the top of the 8th, Royce Lewis, he gets it right back with a single. That makes it 5-5 as we jump now to the bottom of the 9th. Adolis Garcia to the plate, 4 strikeouts, and Garcia launches home run number 34 as the Rangers win it in a walk-off home run fashion from Garcia. 6-5. That's your game of the weekend. All right, let's talk about some of the baseball news for the weekend, and not really a whole lot here, so I just want to kind of combine some of these small things really quickly that I want to mention. Starting off with the New York kids who came to play: Jasson Dominguez, Ronnie Mauriciano, and Austin Wells. Austin Wells gets his first MLB hit. Ronnie Mauricio, the ball he hit for his first major league hit in his first major league at bat, 117 miles an hour for a double. It's the 7th hardest ball hit of the year, so he's already climbed to the 7th player on that list, so good for him. And then Jasson Dominguez, what a series he had to start it off. 2 home runs, hitting a home run off of Verlander, who's twice his age, 20 versus 40 years old there. Hits a home run off of Verlander in his first at-bat, his first home run in the Space City. The Martian comes in, so the New York kids are here. Speaking of New York, Aaron Judge, he became the fastest player ever to 250 career home runs. So, quite the milestone for him. The notorious home run hitter. Always the last guy you want to see come up to the plate in the bottom of the 9th. So good for the Yankees there. Good for Judge. Really just milestone for him. And then the Braves, they're the first team by winning 3 of 4 versus the Dodgers, the first team to reach 90 wins on the year. And with 20-something to go, they can still hit some crazy feats. They most likely will win 100 games. The Braves are definitely the team that you don't want to see come playoff time. But I just wanted to mention all of that really quickly here. And now I just want to go over some of the head-to-head tiebreakers that we have already established for ourselves. Last year when MLB released the new playoff format, they got rid of the game 163. If there's a tie for a division or a wild card, it goes down to 3 sets of tiebreakers. The first one, and the only one we're looking at today, is the head-to-head. So how do teams face off in regular season play? Obviously, if that's tied, it would then go to intra-division play, which we're not going over just yet. But yeah, I just want to look at some of the head-to-head matchups here. So starting off with the AL East, if it ends in a tie, the Orioles do have the tiebreaker unless the Rays sweep the 4 games that they have next week. So as long as Baltimore can win one of those games, if they finish in a tie, Baltimore would win the division. For the AL Central, the Guardians have it over the Twins unless the Twins sweep the Guardians in the 3-game set coming up this week. So the Twins have a lot to play for this week. As long as the Guardians win 1, they have the tiebreaker. But if the Guardians win 2 or 3, the Twins better watch out. And then for the Mariners, Astros, and Rangers, as of now, it's all kind of crazy. And they play too many games left. The Mariners end it with 9 against them. So a lot can change. But as of right now, the Mariners have it over the Astros, and the Astros have it over the Rangers. So the Rangers really need to be winning those games against the Mariners and Astros to try and get a tiebreaker. But right now, the Mariners are in the driver's seat. If all 3 teams ended up finishing with a tie, the Mariners would get the first the division. The Astros would most likely get the second wild card, and the Rangers would either miss the playoffs if the Jays have it, or get the 3rd wild card in that situation there. Looking at the NL Central quickly now, because obviously the NL East and NL West don't have any tiebreakers. The Brewers have it over the Reds. The Reds have it over the Cubs. And the Brewers and Cubs right now are tied 5-5. So they have a 3-game set, the last series of the year. Whoever wins that series would get the tiebreaker. So that could be important if the Cubs keep up with the Brewers. Moving now to the wild card, we'll touch upon the AL one quickly here with the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays have it over the Astros. They're tied with the Mariners, but the M's would get the wild card by going over to the next one. So the Jays need 3 of 4 versus Texas to take that wild card. So the Blue Jays have it over the Astros, and if they can take 3 of 4 or sweep Texas in the 4 games set next week, the Blue Jays would have it over Texas as well, and they would be in a very good position to get a wild card as long as they can keep up with the Astros and Rangers there. But they would not have it over the Mariners, so definitely would want to see them win the division. Taking a look quickly now at the NL, and this is where things get a little complicated because everyone's tied. The Phillies, they have the wild card, or the tiebreaker, over the Cubs, the Reds, and the Diamondbacks. They don't have it versus the Brewers and Giants, and they would need to win the series versus the Finns to take that one. The Phillies and the Marlins play a 3-game set. Right now they're tied, so whoever wins that series would get the wild card. Looking at the Marlins, they have the tiebreaker over the Cubs and the Diamondbacks. They're tied right now with the Giants and Reds. They haven't faced the Brewers yet, so they would need 4 of the 7 games to get it over the Brewers. And then, of course, that mentioned the series against the Philadelphia Phillies. Whoever wins that would get the tiebreaker there. The Cubs, they need that series win versus the Brew Crew. We talked about that when we mentioned the division stuff. They have to get 4 of 7 versus the Diamondbacks. They've yet to play, so obviously whoever wins 4 of the 7 would get the wild card there. They have 2 versus the Giants or 1 to tie it. So if the Cubs win, they have a 3-game set versus the Giants. If the Cubs win 2, they would get the tiebreaker. If they only win 1, they will tie it with the Giants there. They do not have the wild card, though, against the Reds, Marlins, and Phillies. All those 3 teams have it over the Cubs. The Reds have it over the Diamondbacks and the Cubs. They're tied with the Marlins, and they do not have it with the Brewers, Phillies, and Giants. Very easy, very straightforward. The Reds with the Diamondbacks and Cubs, tied with the Marlins, not the Brewers, Phillies, and Giants. Very easy to comprehend there. Last one here, the Diamondbacks and the Giants here. Now, this is interesting. The Diamondbacks need to get the 2-game sweep over the Giants to get the tiebreaker. They have a 2-game set coming up later in the month, Diamondbacks versus the Giants. If the Giants can win one of those games, the Giants will have it over the Diamondbacks. But if the Diamondbacks get that 2-game sweep, the Diamondbacks will get it, and that's a very important tiebreaker to have against your NL division foe there. We mentioned they need 4 of 7 versus the Cubs, but after that, the Diamondbacks do not have it against the Reds, Phillies, or Marlins. So the Diamondbacks are definitely one of the teams kind of outside of the tiebreaker race here. So they definitely need to be a team who wins the games and gets a clear win over every other team they do not want to tie. And for the Giants, we mentioned they need that one against the Diamondbacks. They currently have the tiebreaker over the Brewers, Reds, Phillies. They're tied with the Marlins, and they would need 2 versus the Cubs if they want to win it, or 3 to tie for the matchup there. 2 with the Cubs to tie, 3 for the matchup. So as long as they win 2 games, they tie with the Cubs. If they get that 3rd game and sweep the Cubs, they end up with the tiebreaker. But yeah, so those a lot to unpack there in the NL wildcard, but there's a lot going on with that. But those are some head-to-head tiebreakers. We'll definitely keep you up to date with those as some of those series plays out. Now we have our outstanding performances, and we have a nice, small, simple list here. Kodai Senga from your Mets, 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 12 Ks. Max Fried from your Braves, 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, 10 Ks. Javier Assad from your Cubs, 8 innings pitched, 7 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, 7 Ks. And then 2 Padres here, Blake Snell, 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, no earned runs, 4 walks, 8 Ks. And Seth Lugo, 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, 4 Ks. That is your outstanding performances. All right, now let's take a quick gander at our standings check. The AL East, Baltimore still holds a 2.5 game lead over the Rays. Both those teams are 7-3 in their last 10. The AL Central, the Twins and the Guardians. The Twins have a 5-game lead over the Guardians and a 3-game set coming up this week. That could be interesting if the Twins don't win that series. Looking at the AL West, the Astros got swept. The Mariners and Rangers both lost 2 of 3. So right now, the Mariners do hold a 1-game lead over both the Rangers and Astros, who are currently tied for second, essentially, both 1 game out there. Astros, after getting swept by the Yankees, need to turn it around quickly. The NL East, there's not much to talk about there. The NL Central, though, the Brewers right now, after being 7-3 in their last 10, hold a 3.5 game lead over the Cubs and a 6.5 game lead over the Reds. So if you're Cincinnati, I think your mindset starts to kind of shift more only on the NL wildcard. It's starting to turn into a 2-team race there in the NL Central, unless the Reds get hot quick, and I'm talking about like a 7-8 game win streak. In the NL West, not much to talk about. The Dodgers are 14.5 over the Diamondbacks. The Braves are 15. So yeah, those two are just counting the days essentially. Looking at the wild card right now, the Rangers and Astros are tied for the 2nd and 3rd seed. The Rays hold a 6.5 game lead, and they're still very comfortable there. The Blue Jays are a 1.5 games out from being with the Astros and the Rangers, and obviously we talked about the Jays having the tiebreaker over the Astros. So the Jays, if they get that 1.5 games back, it's the Astros who would miss out on the postseason as of now. Boston, 5.5 games back. So we'll still kind of put them in the mix for now, but Boston is slowly taken away unless they get hot quick. The NL wild card is as followed. The Phillies in the 1st seed, 5.5 up over the 3rd seed. The Cubs in the 2nd seed, 3 games up over the 3rd seed. And the 3rd seed is currently occupied by the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Miami Marlins, the San Francisco Giants, and the Cincinnati Reds. Yes, all 4 teams are tied for the last wildcard spot. The Diamondbacks, Miami, and Giants all at 70 and 67. The Reds at 71 and 68. So the Reds have played 2 more games than the other 3 teams. Going off the tiebreaker, and I think I did this correctly, if all the tiebreakers right now, as of September 4th, it's actually the Giants who hold the top tiebreaker over both Diamondbacks, Miami, and the Reds there. So the Giants would get the 6th seed, and the Diamondbacks, Miami, and Reds would all miss out if it ended today tied. All 4 teams are tied for that last spot. That is crazy to me. And the Padres are 5.5 games out. There is your standings check. Last thing to go over here in this long episode, it's the upcoming series for this week. The White Sox and the Royals face off. The Tigers at the Yankees, Mets at Nationals, Cardinals at Braves, Brewers at Pirates, Dodgers at Marlins, Phillies at Padres, Rockies at D-backs, Giants at Cubs, Mariners at Reds, Blue Jays at A's, Oilers at Angels, Red Sox at Rays, Twins at Guardians, and the Astros at the Rangers. Those last 2 are going to be the 2 to watch, Twins at Guardians and Astros at Rangers. That is going to do it for the episode today. Thank you for sticking with me in this longer episode. Here we go. You know, every day I'm going to be saying it. Every episode I'm going to be talking about how we're counting down to playoffs. It's very exciting. It's the thing I look forward to all month. September and October, 2 of my favorite months of the year because of the playoff chase and then the actual playoffs of MLB. But thank you, everybody, so much, and I will see you guys on Friday.